mentions the bird called the marlin, that breaks the eggs of the crow, whose young are annoyed by the fox, that she also will pinch the whelps of the fox, and the fox likewise, which when the crow sees, they help the fox against her, as against a common enemy. The linnet lives in and eats thistles, yet she hates the ass, because he eats the thistles and flowers of them. There is so great an enmity between the little bird called Escalon and the ass, that their blood will not mix, and that at the simple braying of the ass, both the Escalon's eggs and young perish together. There is also a total antipathy of the olive tree to the harlot, that if she plant it, it will neither thrive nor prosper, but wither. A lion fears lighted torches, and is tamed by nothing sooner. The wolf fears not sword or spear, but a stone, by the throwing of which, a wound being made, worms breed in the wolf. A horse fears a camel so much he cannot endure the picture of that beast. An elephant, when he rages, is quieted by seeing a cock. A snake is afraid of a naked man, but pursues one clothed. A mad bull is tamed by being tied to a fig tree. Amber attracts all things to it but garden basil, and things smeared with oil, between which there is a natural antipathy. Chapter 7. Of the occult virtues of things which are inherent in them only in their lifetime, and such as remain in them even after death. It is expedient for us to know that there are some things which retain virtue only while they are living, others even after death. So when the colic, if a live duck be applied to the belly, it takes away the pain, and the duck dies. If you take the heart out of any animal, and while it is warm, bind it to one that has a quartan fever, it drives it away. So if any one shall swallow the heart of a lapwing, swallow, weasel, or a mole, while it is yet living and warm with natural heat, it improves his intellect, and helps him to remember, understand, and foretell things to come. Hence this general rule, that whenever things are taken for magical uses from animals, whether they are stones, members, hair, excrements, nails, or anything else, they must be taken from those animals while they are yet alive, and if it is possible that they may live afterwards. If you take the tongue of a frog, you put the frog in water again. And Democritus writes that if anyone shall take out the tongue of a water frog, no other part of the animal sticking to it, and lay it upon the place where the heart beats of a woman, she is compelled against her will to answer whatever you shall ask of her. Also take the eyes of a frog, which must be extracted before sunrise, and bound to the sick party, and the frog to be let go again, blind, into the water, that party shall be cured of a certain ague. Also the same will, being bound with the flesh of a nightingale in the skin of a hart, keep a person always wakeful without sleeping. Also the roe of the fork fish, being bound to the navel, is said to cause women an easy childbirth, if it be taken from it alive, and the fish put into the sea again. So the right eye of a serpent being applied to the soreness of eyes, cures the same, if the serpent be let go alive. So likewise the tooth of a mole, being taken out alive, and afterwards let go, cures the toothache, and dogs will never bark at those who have the tail of a weasel that has escaped. Democritus says that if the tongue of the chameleon be taken alive, it conduces to good success in trials, and likewise to women in labor, but it must be hung up on some part of the outside of the house, otherwise if brought into the house it might be most dangerous. There are very many properties that remain after death, and these are things in which the idea of the matter is less swallowed up, according to Plato, in them. Even after death, that which is immortal in them will work some wonderful things, as in the skins we have mentioned of several wild beasts, which will corrode and eat one another after death. Also a drum made of rocket fish drives away all creeping things, at what distance soever the sound of it is heard. And the strings of an instrument made of the guts of a wolf and being strained upon a harp or lute, with strings made of sheep guts, will make no harmony. Therefore, then, they say men influenced by them are most surely excited to the commission of the vices before named. Yet a wise man may, by the liberty of his own free will, make those affections and inclinations void, and this they call to rule the stars. But let them know, according to the sense here understood first, it is not in a wise man to resist evil inclinations, but of the grace of God. And we call none wise, but such as are endued with grace. For as we have said before, all natural wisdom from the hands of man is foolishness in the sight of God, which was not before understood to be a wise man censed with grace. For why should he rule the stars, who has not any occasion to fear conquered inclinations? Therefore, a natural wise man is as subject to the slavery of sin as others more ignorant than himself. Yet the stars do not incline him to sin. God created the heavens without spot, and pronounced them good. Therefore it is the greatest absurdity to suppose the stars, by a continual inclining of us to this or that misdeed, should be our tempters, which we eventually make them, if we admit they cause inclination. But know that it is not from without, but within, by sin, that evil inclinations do arise, according to the Scriptures. Out of the heart of man proceeds evil cogitations, murmurs, adulteries, thefts, murders, and company. Because as the heavens and apprehensions of all celestial virtues are sealed by God in the soul and spirit of man, so when man becomes depraved by sin and the indulgence of his gross and carnal appetite, he then becomes the seat of the infernal powers, which may be justly deemed a hell. For then the bodily and fleshly sense obscures the bright purity and thinness of the spirit, and he becomes the instrument of our spiritual enemy in the exercise of all infernal lusts and passions. Therefore, it is most necessary for us to know that we are to beware of granting or believing any effects from the influences of the stars more than they have naturally. Because there are many whom I have lately conferred with, and great men too, in this nation, who readily affirm that the stars are the cause of any kinds of diseases, inclinations, and fortunes. Likewise, that they blame the stars for all their misconduct and misfortunes. Nevertheless, we do not by these discourses prohibit or deny all influence to the stars. On the contrary, we affirm there is a natural sympathy and antipathy amongst all things throughout the whole universe, and this we shall show to be displayed through a variety of effects, and likewise that the stars as signs do foreshow great mutations, revolutions, deaths of great men, governors of provinces, kings and emperors, likewise the weather, tempests, earthquakes, deluges, and company.